Insta360 Go 2 versus the GoPro Hero 9. Which of these action cameras is best? Let's find out. So first of all, if you've never heard of this camera, this is the Insta360 Go 2, and it is indeed the second iteration of the original Go camera. This is my first time using either of these cameras, so I really didn't know what to expect, but I've been testing it out for the past month, so I've really gotten to know this camera pretty well. The first thing to know right off the bat is that despite its name, this is not a 360 camera. Instead, this is more of a wide-angle point of view camera, so it gets you a really wide perspective, but it is not a 360 camera. So in that sense, the Insta360 Go 2 is on a fairly level playing field with the GoPro Hero 9 in that neither of these are 360 cameras. So with that said, let's go into some of the key differences between these two cameras, starting with image quality or resolution. The GoPro Hero 9 was really revolutionary in that it was the very first GoPro that's able to shoot in up to 5K resolution. And the Insta360, on the other hand, is capped out at 1440K, so it can't even shoot in 4K. So that might be a deal breaker for some, but for me, I don't even shoot in 5K to begin with because I just don't have the memory card space or the hard drive space for files that big. So it might be a deal breaker for you, or it might not. The next key difference would be sound quality. So the Insta360 Go 2 actually does have microphones built in. It might just be one single microphone actually, because when I film with this camera, it actually does pick up sound, and it's pretty decent sound. It's not the best. Well, we're out here testing out the GoPro Hero 9 versus the Insta360 Go 2. This is our first side-by-side comparison of these two cameras, and I'm really curious to see the results.
Yeah, one is 4K, one is 1440. Let's see how that works out.
The size of this camera is a lot smaller, which does have its disadvantages actually. It's not always a good thing. One being that you can't really see the interface. You have to use a secondary case in order to even see your settings. And you definitely cannot see yourself in the screen because there is no screen.
Yeah, we don't know what we're shooting, but this is the closest thing to a James Bond camera that is decent.
The GoPro has been getting a lot better at its sound because it has a lot more internal microphones built into the camera. So the other advantage of the GoPro is that you can also attach a media mod or a mic adapter to add an external microphone and really enhance the sound that way. Versus on the Insta360 Go 2, there's no way to add an external microphone to this camera as of 2021 anyway. Maybe in the future they'll add a way to add an external mic, but as of right now, you have to stick with only the internal microphones. The next key difference between these two cameras is, to me, the biggest difference, and that is the usability. So because the Insta360 Go 2 is so small, it's lacking a lot of things that the GoPro has, such as a LCD screen. The GoPro Hero 9 now has two. It has a front-facing screen and a back-facing screen, so you can preview your video as you're filming or after you're filming, and also look at your settings before and after you shoot. On the other hand, the Insta360 Go 2 is more similar to the original GoPros that first came out with no LCD displays. And those cameras were really simple, and the whole idea was just to wear the camera and go out and shoot and not worry about looking at your settings or previewing your image as you're shooting. And so the Insta360 Go 2 is more about that grab the camera, go out and shoot, and don't worry about your composition. So I really like that about this camera, and that's really what it comes down to, in my opinion, about being the biggest difference between this camera and the GoPro. At first I did find it a little bit frustrating to not be able to see exactly what I was shooting with this camera, but the more I used it, the more I loved the simplicity of it, and the more I found the GoPro to be a little bit more complicated. But you might be wondering how exactly to use this camera if it doesn't have an LCD display. And when I first unboxed this camera, I admit that I had to watch a couple of tutorials to figure out how to use this camera at all because it really wasn't that intuitive. So that's just something to be aware of. If you do get the Insta360 Go 2, you want to be able to spend at least a day getting to know this camera because it's not the type of camera that you can just unbox and go out and start shooting with. You have to get to know it first, and then you can go ahead and start shooting with it that way. So this camera is super simple. Here's the lens, and down here is a button. And so you just control the camera using this single button, and you have to connect the camera to your smartphone app, and then you can customize this button to have a bunch of different actions depending on what you want it to do. Alternatively, you can also use this included case. You can pop it open and stick the camera inside. It attaches magnetically, and then you can press the little record button to connect the camera to the case. So this is how you charge the camera, and it's also how you connect the camera to your computer to preview your video files. And it's also a way to check your settings because it connects to the camera, and there's a little LCD display here where you can set your settings and also check your settings. It doesn't allow you to preview your video or give you a sense of what you're shooting, but it at least gives you an actual display so you can verify your settings, which is really important when you're using this camera. Another thing I really love about this case is that here in the back are little tripod feet that are built in. So you can put this camera down on a table or a flat surface and use it to film or take photos or videos. And at the bottom, there's also a standard 1/4 inch tripod thread, so you can attach this to any tripod mount. So this is a really handy little case, and you definitely want to be able to use this with your Insta360 Go 2. It really enhances the usage of this camera. But since I mentioned mounts, this is one of several mounts that come with the Insta360 Go 2. So the GoPro itself doesn't come with any mounts, but you might be aware of the many GoPro mounts that are out there that are made by both GoPro and a bunch of third-party vendors. So there's lots of mounting options for GoPro, but they're all purchased separately. For Insta360 Go 2, they have a lot fewer mounts because this is a relatively new camera, but the camera does come with several other mounts, not only this cool charging case that's also a tripod, but there's also another white case here, which you can pop in the Insta360 Go 2. It snaps in also magnetically. And then this case has a little ball head here, so you can position the camera in any direction, and you can hold the camera out at an arm's length and sort of use it to do selfies or to vlog. And the bottom of the case slides off. Then you have a little sticky mount here, so you can mount this to just about any surface out there. Another included mount is this hat mount. So you can, again, just clip your camera in magnetically, and then this little clip here can go on the brim of a hat. So you can actually wear the camera on a hat, and it gives you a really nice POV perspective. And the final mount that I was super excited about, and probably one of my favorite mounts, is this little necklace. So this is a mounting necklace that is magnetic. So the idea with this necklace is to wear it over your neck, and the white part goes under your shirt. I can't quite demonstrate that because I'm wearing a microphone right now, but just imagine that this is under my shirt, and then the camera attaches magnetically, even though there's a piece of fabric in between. And so you can walk around and have this as your little POV camera on your top of your shirt. Some of you did ask if this magnet was really strong and if it can withstand the pressure of doing action with it. And I think it really depends on what kind of clothing that you're wearing. I did all of my testing wearing these super thin shirts because it's summertime and it's really hot, so I'm wearing really thin performance kind of moisture wicking shirts. And so for me, I didn't have a problem. I found the magnet to be really strong. However, if it was like winter time and I'm wearing a really thick shirt or a really thick jacket, then I don't know that this magnet would be very strong. So it really depends on the fabric that you're using. But overall, I really liked using this necklace, and it was one of my favorite ways to capture content with the Insta360 Go 2. Another thing I really liked about shooting with this camera is the option to shoot in HDR video, which is something that the GoPro does not offer, and also Pro video. So you can shoot in standard video or pro video. So both the GoPro and the Insta360 Go 2 allow you to choose from digital lenses. So you can shoot in ultra wide, wide, linear, or narrow. With the GoPro though, you have to make your lens choice before you hit the record button and start shooting. With the Insta360 Go 2, if you shoot in Pro mode, then you can choose your lenses after you film. So you can import your videos into the Insta360 Studio, and you can have that video be ultra wide, or it can be linear, or you can just choose your lenses in post-production, which is a really nice option because you don't have to make that choice as you're out there filming. Now let's talk about battery life. The GoPro Hero 9 has a brand new battery that has about 30% more power than previous GoPro batteries. So the battery currently lasts about 2 hours, even when you're shooting in 4K resolution. The Insta360 Go 2, on the other hand, has a battery life of about 30 minutes. And also, the capacity of this camera is also about 30 minutes. So whether it's battery life or recording capacity, you're capped out at 30 minutes of filming with the Insta360 Go 2. And on that note, you might be wondering, can't I swap out the battery or swap out the memory card on the Insta360 Go 2? And no, you can't. That's yet another restriction of this camera being so tiny, is that the battery is built in and not removable, and so is the memory. There are no memory cards on this camera. The memory is built in, so you have to physically connect the camera to your computer to offload your footage. And once you max out the space on this camera, you can't film anymore with it without deleting your footage. So on the other hand, you can replace both the battery and the memory card of the GoPro. So that leads me to my conclusion. Of the Insta360 Go 2 and the GoPro Hero 9, which of these two cameras is best? And I think that's the wrong question to ask, because I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. I think that these are two vastly different cameras, and they are for different people based on their filming preferences or filming styles. So for us, we use the GoPro a lot whenever we're out filming. It's our A-roll camera because it has unlimited battery and unlimited memory storage, in the sense that we can continually replace the battery and the memory card and keep filming all day with this camera. For the Insta360 Go 2, it has that 30-minute limit. And so for that reason, I think this camera is better as your B-roll camera to be shooting short little clips throughout your day. And if that's your filming style in general, and you're not the type of person to go out and film all day with one single camera, then the Insta360 Go 2 is probably your best bet. So that is my take on the Insta360 Go 2 versus the GoPro Hero 9. I love both of these cameras, but for very different reasons. And I use both cameras. I think they actually complement each other really well. So when we go out and shoot, I like to have both cameras with me now. The GoPro, again, being my A-roll camera to capture most of the vlogs, because I can continually replace the battery and the memory card, and also add my external microphone to get really high quality sound. But the Insta360 Go 2 is just so great for that little POV perspective. And I love their little mounts that they include, and they just allow me to get really different perspectives that I would never get with the GoPro. The GoPro is a small camera, but man, once you have this Insta360 Go 2, it really challenges your creativity, or just makes you more creative, because you start wondering, where can I put this camera to get different perspectives? We had a lot of fun. Some of you guys might know that we have a new baby, and so we had lots of fun using this Insta360 Go 2 to try to get different perspectives from our baby's perspective or point of view. So that's something I'd never think to do with the GoPro, but I had lots of fun doing it with the Insta360. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you agree with my assessment, or do you have a totally different opinion? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.